Hello, my name is Pamela Rose and today we're going to talk about cadential points. So what is a cadential point? Well, a cadential point happens at the end of a phrase or the end of a section or just at the end of a breath. To mark those cadential points, we have two chords, which we call cadences. In grade 5, there are only 3 cadences used. They are the perfect, the plagal and the imperfect. We won't be asked to label them, but it's a very good idea to know them in any case because it will help our oral and our general understanding for when we come to number the chords. The perfect cadence goes from chord 5 to chord 1. I'm using the key of C major because it's the most easy to see on the piano. If you listen to the bass then, which we always have to do when we're listening out for chords, hear the chord 5 to chord 1. It's got a very final feel to it, this cadence. Let's have a look at the plagal cadence. Now the plagal cadence goes from chord 4 back to chord 1. Sounds more like an amen. So the plagal cadence from chord 4, which in the key of C major is F chord, to chord 1, which is C chord in the key of C major. The imperfect cadence is slightly different. It always ends on chord 5, but it can start at grade 5 level on chord 1, on chord 2 or on chord 4. So it can start on chord 1 and go to chord 5, or it can start on chord 2 and go to chord 5. Or it can start on chord 4 and go to chord 5. Always with the imperfect cadence, we end on chord 5, so we always feel that we want to come back to chord 1 and end in a perfect cadence. That's something that our ears naturally want to hear as an ending. So, I'll just recap that. Here's our perfect cadence from chord 5 to chord 1. Here's our plagal cadence, which is going to go from chord 4 to chord 1. And our imperfect cadence. This time I'm going to take chord 2 to chord 5. Chord 2 to chord 5. One thing I'd like to talk to you about is when in the imperfect cadence we have a 1 in its second inversion going to chord 5. So that's a 1C 5. You will not only need to recognise it when you see it written down in grade 5 theory, but it will really help you in your oral sessions as well. So let's just think about that. If we're in the key of C major, 1C, that's the chord 1, C major, in its second position, C chord, 1C, has a G at the bottom. Now we're going to go to the chord of 5, which is G major chord. That also has a G at the bottom. got two consecutive bass notes exactly the same. So when you see that in your grade 5 theory, you'll know that that is a 1C5. It's often asked at this level as a question in your theory exam. Back to the main question of recognising the chords. It's normally the very last question on the grade 5 ABRSM's theory paper. And the last question is on the back page. There's so many people just don't turn over the page. So make sure you're not one of those and that you do turn over the page and answer the question, because it would be a shame to lose 10 whole marks. So having turned the page over, the first thing we have to do is look again, find the key signature. It's the thing we always have to do, find the key signature. When you're sure of the key signature, what scale you're in, write out the named notes of the chord 1, 2, 4 and 5. So say I'm in the key of C major, I will write out C, E and G for chord 1. I will write out D, F and A for chord 2. I will write out F, A and C for chord 4 and G, B and D for chord 5. I will have that written in front of me, so it's very easy for me to work with. Then I will find the chords that best fit the melody line that I'm given. So if you're given, say, in the key of C major, a melody line of F, A, D, C, then you'll want to use chord 4, because chord 4 has F, A and C in it. One thing you want to remember is that the last two chords form one of the 3 cadences that we've come across. The last chord of every question will either be chord 1 or it will be chord 5. Keep listening to those different cadences so that you can recognise them immediately. We have the perfect, we have the plagal, and we have the imperfect using chord 2 to start with. So, now you know about chords at cadential points and naming them. In my next session, we're going to be talking about intervals, and I look forward to seeing you there.